Newsfirst, face-to-face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
Hello there and a very good evening. Welcome to another episode of Face to Face, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Today is the 25th of March 2024. As always, I'm Jamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. And tonight, my guest on the show is Professor Anil Jayantha, National Executive Committee member of the National People's Power, here to talk about everything from economics to politics and everything in between. Good evening, Professor, and welcome back on the show.
Good evening. Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to be with you.
Certainly. And to get the ball rolling tonight, Professor, your leader, Anukumara Dissanayake, seems to be traveling the world quite often these days, and you are coming on this program at a time where Anukumara Dissanayake is in Canada, voyaging far towards the Western world, engaging with Sri Lankan communities there. And this prompts the question, something that I have personally been thinking about, is there are so many professionals and so many Sri Lankans residing overseas, and they make up the diaspora, especially when it comes to countries like Canada. And those individuals are very capable of supporting Sri Lanka if they believe that the administration in Sri Lanka are engaged in a concerted effort to support Sri Lanka's recovery process. What sort of ambition or vision does the NPP have to engage with the diaspora in other nations and gaining their support and their confidence in Sri Lanka's road to recovery?
Thank you, Jamal. It's very straightforward and very simple, because we as NPP is not going to form another government.
Right.
Actually, we are going to form a government and trying to rule the country with everyone together. We do not request just vote us and we will rule. No. So we ask them to join hands with us and we will rule the country together. In that case, we cannot neglect any strata or single strata of this country, starting from maybe a grassroots level, the worker, farmer, or at any other level, the professionals, no matter whether they live in Sri Lanka or overseas. So, in the past, to a great extent, we know that like when forming governments, these expatriates really contributed in different ways. They had certain hopes, we believe, like irrespective of our political ideologies and all those things, they wanted a country or a society in which we can live in harmony and peace. But it did not happen. Now, really, if we want to form such a society, we need their support in numerous ways. So this is the kind of efforts of just bringing them into a common thread, because in the past people join with individual and different objectives. Here it is easy under NPP platform, the banner, we have only one common theme, so thread, therefore it is easy. That is just to enhance and bring about the country with economic prosperity and by respecting the human dignity. So that as far as the economy is also concerned, we need to go for an inclusive economy, so where everybody can contribute, especially this Sri Lankan diaspora living in Canada and everywhere. They have, in addition to their ideas, actually they have earned saved some money as well, like enough money that could be converted into investments. In Sri Lanka, due to the prevailing situation and uncertainty and these issues, even the available savings are not converted into investment. So our effort, one of our efforts among the other things, as I just told you, to bring their savings into Sri Lankan investment to boost the economy.
Right. So going beyond the diaspora, talking about bilateral relations when it comes to the Western world, we know historically the JVP, which is one of the primary parties within the NPP, has been somewhat resistant of engaging with Western nations. But now we see that ideology or that approach changing with the NPP. And is it something that is being done just to appease the people, to show that you are engaging with the international community, or is there a genuine interest in forging relationships with other nations so that if and when you do come to power, you will have the fullest support of those nations to take the country forward?
So in fact, I just want to make a correction. In fact, JVP or NPP did not have, even in the past, such policies that we did not have any antagonizing policies with other countries.
Right.
So though our enemies have institutionalized some kind of ideologies that we are against countries.
Right.
No, we are always, we were and as of now, against the policies which are really detrimental to the mankind and human. So no matter whether it is America, India, even China, no matter. So we maintain this thing. So as far as our foreign policy is also concerned, so we would like to go for a non-aligned policy because now world has different the camps in terms of political ideologies. They have international political rules, but as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, being a small country, we do not have such a rule. So that we better go for a non-aligned policy. So in developing our economy and maintaining diplomatic relations and all those things, and we need to have good relations. So bilateral relations and good understanding. We had that objective from the very beginning, but since we were not up to a level where we are going to bargain for the power, so even we also did not put that much effort of just building these things. So now we are at that particular juncture. So we
are gaining momentum.
Gaining, of course, the momentum. And that is reflected, even the general public sentiment is also there. So that could be one of the reasons why again the diplomats are also just inviting us, just maintaining good conversation with us. And apart from the other things, so our leaders, the foreign visits are such that one part of just bringing everything together to form a very strong position to gain the power and to extend, in real terms, to extend these relationships in such a manner that there are different avenues, ways through which we can develop our economy. Especially, you remember we went to India as well. So lots of opportunities are there to develop Sri Lankan economy through very robust agreements, even the bilateral agreements, where no party is trying to gain undue advantages or to serve the self-interest. So lots of potential are there. Unlike in the past, now the world is such that where you can create values through corporations. Need not to go for fierce competition. So that was in the past. So we have understood this. So how the world is changing, we are ready to gather this momentum. And take it forward.
Right. So let's bring the conversation back to Sri Lanka here at home. If a neutral observer comes to Sri Lanka who is unaware of what has taken place historically and observes the surface level and the status quo, if I put it that way, we can see that the Department of Census and Statistics saying that Sri Lanka experienced 4.5% growth in the fourth quarter of 2023. We can also see tourism booming, swathes of tourists coming into Sri Lanka. We can see the IMF has reached a staff level agreements to release the second tranche of the extended fund facility. So one might say that the current administration is taking Sri Lanka on the right path. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, you're right, Jamal. So it appears to be such that we are recovering. But if you do a careful analysis based on facts and information, you see, especially after 1970s even, throughout our history, so now no matter whether we have different ideologies or any other things, everyone accepts the fact that country is in real abyss now. It is a fact. But during this particular period, so we have taken too much, we have obtained loans and now that the debt level is also unsustainable. So amidst these things, so where the country is heading, because we need to see a trend of a country not by looking at a particular short time period. You need to take a longer time period. If you take the 40 years, so 4 decades, so country is really heading towards a crash. But if you take maybe 1 day, 1 week, 1 quarter, if you want, you can manipulate data. So when crooks are in power, corrupt people are in power, of course, in addition to these things, they use numbers to manipulate what we call window dressing practices, cooking numbers, cooking books. So I'll just show you, it is good that you raise. in this particular quarter, like year-on-year basis quarter, the positive growth of 4.5%.
Right.
But in fact, for the entire year, what matters is the year at the end.
Okay.
So negative 2.3.
Right.
If the country is, no matter whether it is negative form or positive or stable, when a country is growing, it should be stable. Such high volatility is so dangerous.
Right.
If you see, if you just the camera can focus this,
Yes.
you can see how these quarterly the growth have changed. This is the game of manipulating numbers. So
if you could explain it a bit to others who are not
that
able
is right.
to.
So in the first quarter, even in the first quarter when this number came, we had a press conference briefing. I explained this matter.
Right.
The government is trying to manipulate data.
I see.
In the very first quarter, they reported negative 10.7 growth, negative.
Right.
Then no one is worried. Okay, now we are in a crisis. Okay, negative growth.
It is common to witness negative growth.
Then in the second quarter, it was reduced to negative 3%.
Right.
In the third quarter, gradually showed 1.6%, then 4.5. When we average, so 2.3 minus is the average result of these three. So you can simply add these numbers and divide it by 4, you get this number.
Right.
So this is manipulation. Anyway, if anyone believes or anyone argues that no, we are in a recovery, because even sometimes so-called well-established institution, even including IMF,
Right.
IMF also has stated this fact. Okay, government is recovering. It is not really recovering. You better wait for another quarter. If this is true, if you are in a growth momentum, so what is the answer? The next quarter should be more than 4.5. We'll see. So definitely, it's more likely government would report next quarter negative growth or next, I mean, the 2024 next quarter, is like not the third quarter now. Just before the election, maybe that quarter would be positive.
Right.
I'm referring to the first quarter of 2024. That data is not available. For sure, first quarter of 2024 would be a very negative growth, maybe 10-15%. It is more likely. That is why being intelligent people in Sri Lanka, like we have a high literacy rate.
Right.
We should not be really driven away by so-called numbers and emotions. Do a very careful analysis. This is a very good the indication and information that how the government is manipulating numbers.
Right. So speaking on the topic of manipulating numbers, I want to go into the integrity of things because you have come geared up to discuss this matter at length. So if we take growth of industries and services, particularly if we go into the nitty-gritty of things, how has the economy performed and what sort of information is available to the general public through official sources?
Yeah. Subject to certain limitations, constraints are there about the numbers as well as I just told you.
Certainly.
Some limitations are there. However, to some extent, we need to take these official statistics.
Right.
So then that is why it is said 2.3%. Any economy in this world basically broke into three major components: agriculture, industries, and services. So if the economy is stable, not highly vulnerable, then the growth should be reflected in all the areas. But if you take Sri Lanka's situation now, Central Bank has published the recent report that is...
when was this published?
Maybe a week ago. National Accounts Estimate, that is 2023 statistics. These are the things, so they say that is estimates. Some minor changes would come. Would be included in would be included in the next annual report.
Right.
If you see agriculture sector, industries and services, you can see carefully, except the rice, the paddy cultivation.
In
agriculture sector, all the other cultivations and the crops have reported a significant negative growth. So this is where how the economy is contracting and creating lots of problems. You lose your jobs and you don't have adequate income, whereby how come people would go for the demand? Their disposable income is very less. In turn, as a spillover impact, so that would affect to industries as well. Then industries also would be closed down or have to contract.
That is reflected on that
reflected. So if you just say all the other crops have shown a negative growth. By the same way, if you look at the industries, so when we take the aggregate amount, then agriculture has reported a positive 6 point something.
Right.
But if you go to the deeper analysis, so like if the government wants, you can play with that number. Okay, agriculture has improved. It's not really an improvement. All the other sectors have gone down. But when we go to the industries, because industries is a key driver of economic development, but all the sectors, if you go to mining, construction, water-related, manufacturing, electricity, storage, everything negative growth. So this is a key. So if this your industrialization, industry sector does not come up, improve, actually other sectors also would be like gradual influence.
Right.
To great extent, service sector.
Okay.
The service sector, apart from the financial services, other services, logistics services, insurance, transportation, and all those things should support.
Right.
And they go in parallel, hand in hand. But you can see the analysis in detail, service sector also, except accommodation, that is the hotelier sector,
Tourism.
it is pretty obvious nowadays,
Right.
because when the tourist arrival increases,
The
this
business
income
goes up.
And insurance also, when the risk is there, lots of insurance policies may be increased. All the other sectors, major sectors, have reported negative growth.
Right.
So therefore it's a very clear indication that where our economy is really heading towards. So from numbers they can manipulate and show, but in real situation, the general people, especially the downtrodden people and vulnerable people would face these issues and the hardship of their lives in the future.
Right.
And what would be the answer for the government? Then government would come out with some kind of like direct cash transfers or giving some subsidies and keeping them in the poor status all the time and giving a kind of subsidy and just to appease the people. Making them a little bit comfortable.
Satisfied.
They might think that, oh my goodness, because of that we are surviving.
Right.
It is not so. You have to ask question, especially this particular country having all these resources and having very good human resource capacity, and without having a good political direction and ideology, all the time you are suffering your life. So are we there to live like this? What is the life you are having? So it's not really, in no means it could be justified.
Right.
You have to first understand this critical situation of
right.
this
So, Professor, you gave me and our viewers the grueling numbers of where it comes to a very, very intricate breakdown of our agriculture, industries, and services. But what is the NPP's plan, Professor, to uplift all these sectors? It doesn't seem like an overnight task, and it doesn't seem like something that can be done. If you win an election tomorrow, you can take Sri Lanka back to prosperity the next day. So where does the solution, the panacea, where does it lie? And what is the NPP's structure and plan to address this?
Yeah, actually, so you just turned to a very good the point. Like, this is the base. No matter whether it is NPP or any other government that has a genuine interest of really recovering the economy and taking the economy from this particular abyss out, we need to go for a production economy. That means we need to expand the production, that is the both goods and services. It is something what we call unlocking the potential. So how best we could do this? So of course the government has to take into account our potential.
Yes.
So they are constrained to great extent by the availability of the resources.
Right.
Of course we have some resources and being an island, so not only the land and the mineral resources likewise. So our production as of now does not take place in such a manner based on such a direction.
Right.
We need to have a planning. So that is the thing. So even the optimal utilization of land. So that is number one. And if we do that and create a conducive environment for the investment to be turned into, savings to be turned into investment, and invite private sector investors to come and do engage in economic activities on a fair manner. So that is what we call level playing field. Creating, we have to, because we are talking about a democratic environment. So that is the base. But as you said, Jayamal, it takes time. It doesn't happen over time.
Right.
So therefore, when NPP comes to the power, we implement these programs, and based on these policies, we would drive our economy for sure. In the meantime, we have two critical issues that we can't simply neglect. So the current issue that the government does not have, one hand, adequate revenue to run take care of the basic things like public services, utilities, and all those things. As a government has to have certain amount of public finance. That is not adequate. That is as of now less than 10% of GDP. We have to increase at least within a couple of years time to 15% and targeting 20%.
I see.
We can do that. Even with high tax rates, our tax base is shrinking because there are so many leakages. and lots of tax frauds,
Yes.
and opportunities are there for tax evasion and tax avoidances.
Yes.
So we have a plan of just like curbing all these things and to increase the tax revenue, and not at these rates. Under our government, of course, these tax rates would be revised, not immediately, with a careful analysis. To do that, we would use technology to great extent.
Right.
So present premise system, and whether application is needed, we will do that, and that would be done. And again, the tax administration also, they are in the IRD.
Yes.
Some areas are there, we have to, like once the technology is brought in, so this manual operation can be done away
There have
with.
to be creases.
Yeah,
There will be creases that you need to iron out.
Exactly. If you do these things, of course, we can increase our government revenue. So within the region, for example, I mean, need not to compare with the world, even IMF fiscal monitor report has provided information that in the Asian region, the tax revenue of a government is more than roughly around 25% of GDP.
I see.
But their tax rates, individual tax rates and VAT rates are concerned, they are very low. For example, when it comes to essential stuff, if you impose high tax rate, it is really dangerous, and that would really create lots of unnecessary problems in the economy.
So will sorry, continue.
Yeah, please. So what I just wanted to tell you, so in that way, we have to revive and streamline our revenue collection system, whereby we can consolidate public the revenue with the expenses. And again, there are lots of inefficiencies and issues which are also driven by corruption and politicization as well. For sure, NPP can reduce all those things, thereby we can manage this without having any problems. And the other issue is the external sector.
Yes.
External sector is a very the critical for the development, especially in dealing or engaging in present days economic activities, because the world trade has been gradually increasing. Now, as a number, it is roughly around 40% of the total GDP of the world GDP. But where is our position? It's a very trivial and minimal amount. We need to take a sizable amount from this world trade. So for that, what is our plan? Of course, we need to diversify exports. We have a separate plan for this thing. To some extent, tourism also can be brought up to a level because, but there are limitations. We can't go for, I mean, because there's a carrying capacity within which we can manage. And to develop Sri Lanka, we can bring our foreign remittances as well from our expatriates. So these are the key pillars already we have focused to address immediately. But in the long run, economic development plan, of course, we have thought of how best FDI, foreign direct investment, should be improved. And, you know, when we talk about foreign direct investment, it can happen that way or this way. Some investors also may come by seeing opportunistic situations and just to earn quick buck. But we are ready to go for long-term investment where win-win situation. They also earn something, we also get something. Finally, benefits would be shared. It's all right.
So you brought out a very important point there, because although Sri Lanka has been attracting foreign direct investments all this time, most of those agreements have been fly-by-night agreements where either the party or the investor has a very tainted track record, or there is no transparency to the people and the masses in terms of what are the regulations or conditions of the agreement and the investment. So where will the NPP differentiate itself in terms of showing transparency to the masses, ensuring that Sri Lanka receives a better benefit out of that particular investment? Yeah,
of course. So first of all, so deciding what investment should come in, what project should be done, will not be done based on the whim and fancies of president or ministers. They would be done based on a robust analysis and based on the available, like the future, the development, all those things. Accordingly, we decide what the appropriate the industries.
It will be done by intellectuals.
Of course, and that meritocracy should prevail there. Then, when we invite for investment, because being a small country, of course, there are legitimate investors. So nowadays, in addition to pure economic gains, these investors look for other aspects as well. So the issues of the climate change, the problems, and the green investment. So the future of this particular world is at a juncture where the sustainability is questioned and it's going to be compromised. So if we can open the doors for investors, please come and go ahead and continue with green investment and sustainable investment. Plenty of opportunities are there.
Yes.
We do that. But open tendering process and the information, any citizen must be able to avail, because we give one guarantee and assurance that our representatives, our agents, people's agents who take any position in our government, we will respect not to be conflicted with our personal interest with the public interest. So that means we bring the corruption level to zero.
So it will be Sri Lanka first.
So yeah, that is so. If it can give that particular the example from the top, automatically that would the spillover would go down to the other areas. So this is how we have thought of investment. And Jayamal, as you just highlighted, last 4 decades, we have been able to bring only $20 billion as foreign direct investment, including investment in the stock market and other opportunistic investment. Because if you just carefully do an analysis of foreign direct investment as of now, what we have, once they earn a profit, any excess, what is the next move? If you are a good investor, you would try to expand your investment in Sri Lanka. But those investors do not have such intention. You carefully check. Whenever a profit is reported, they want to take it back quickly and remit it back to their own countries in terms of dividends, because that's uncertainty. They
do not want to reinvest it.
Yeah, that is why we say that we can clearly demarcate this thing. Under NPP government, we create such a level playing field, platform and democratic environment and win-win situation, and go ahead with long-term investment. So it's quite possible. In addition to foreign investors, even Sri Lankan expatriates also can and join. So as our diaspora, already they have expressed their interest of just investing. Then what we have to do is to create opportunities. So therefore, I think path is clear. And of course, we will have to face challenges. Any challenge can be overcome as long as rulers have genuine objectives and interest of serving the public interests without tending towards the private interest. So this is what we are. I mean, as NPP.
What you envisage.
Yes,
there's very interesting point you mentioned in passing, meritocracy, which is a word that is thrown around but isn't really practiced here in Sri Lanka. So, and we know with the economic crisis, there's a mass exodus of professionals, intellectuals, people who are very knowledgeable in certain fields who left the country. And the MPP has an opportunity to invite them back to the country, but you need to have a robust plan. So can you very quickly just map out what that plan is to bring back those great minds to Sri Lanka?
Of course, like if I just detail out, the first thing is we can make an open invitation for anybody to join hands and take part in these the programs. And with these, we have established our international institutions, like what we call our organizations. Like in Sri Lanka also we have NPP, the organization at grassroots level.
Like collectives.
So likewise we have our organization in other countries as well, through which already we have communicated. They also have expressed their interest as well. We have very good I'd call communication. And not only that our initiatives. So most of Sri Lankan expatriates, so they have come out with their own initiatives. So they have suggested that this area would be possible. Likewise, that as of now, you would not see all those people who are behind and supporting us in developing our policies. And in future, we are for sure, we are not going to give responsibilities or give opportunities for any, I mean, even if you just follow meritocracy, those who merely know us or whether they have any connection with the NPP or just because of the political affiliation, we are not going to
be awarded positions.
So for sure, because we give the responsibilities and opportunities and select people based on their caliber and the capacity
and the qualifications they have to
and the really call meritocracy to serve the nation. If you can do that, of course, we can get a very
can
big
all
leap,
live in a better Sri Lanka.
Yeah, leap forward.
Certainly. My guest tonight was Professor Anil Jayantha, National Executive Committee member of the National People's Power, bringing a very integrated breakdown of and analytical breakdown of Sri Lanka's economy and what the NPP has in store should it come to power one day. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Face to Face tonight. Do take care and have yourselves a great Monday night.